There's actually a quote by Sam Altman in regards to AGI, and he talks about 95% of what agencies do is going to be commoditized by AI in the next 5 to 10 years. There's two ways you can look at that. You can look at that and be scared and be what I would say is a turtle, and hide your head in your shell, or you can embrace it.
Welcome to Inside AI Digital Podcast. I'm your host, YJ. And in each episode, we sit down with leaders from AI Digital and across the ad tech industry to talk about how AI is reshaping media strategy and digital activation. And today I'm joined by Stephen Magli, our CEO and founder of AI Digital. Stephen founded AI Digital back in 2018 with the vision to build a more open, agnostic media partner that could help brands and agencies navigate an increasingly complex and fragmented digital landscape. Stephen, great to have you on the podcast.
Yes, thanks for having me, YJ.
So, Stephen, before launching AI Digital back in 2018, you had already spent many years in digital media and ad tech. And at the time, it was very volatile with a lot of heavy consolidations, mergers, very competitive, crowded landscape, much like where we are with AI companies currently. In the middle of that, you decided to start AI Digital with a vision to build an agnostic media partner. So, can you talk to us a little bit about your ad tech journey and what gave you the conviction to make that move?
Yeah, of course, YJ. So I think there's two parts. You have the entrepreneurial part, which I was kind of born with, and then you have the advertising part. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's always like it's more of a calling, honestly, what I would say. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's just the way my brain works. And for me, I've always kind of wanted to walk to the beat of my own drum, do my own thing. So actually, my first business was in college at Vanderbilt in Nashville. I threw parties. I mean, I don't want to say that was the seed money, but I was able to save a lot of that, which put me in a position to start the company. So first and foremost, I always knew I wanted to do something and start something again. In terms of advertising, I had my first job out of college was a now defunct platform, Media Math. I was an account planner, which was not exactly my skill set. I'm fortunate that I got plucked out of that to go to a software company that had nothing really to do with advertising, but I really learned sales, and I learned it's a much better fit for my personality. And I was there around 18 months. And then I ended up going to an actual DSP as a director and then VP of sales. And that's where I saw, and I would argue, YJ, there's still a ton of volatility in the industry, but that's where I actually sold execution technology, and I saw how challenging it was. Because the reality is, to build a bidder and execute on one, I don't want to say it's easy, although it's a lot easier now than it was back then. But what really makes things special is the way you apply technology, analytics, strategy, and navigate that to ultimately drive outcomes for clients. So with that, I saw the idea of AI digital of, instead of trying to play the old game and build a platform, sit on top of them and try to unify them. And for me, that was very important to start a nice company.
That's quite a journey. And I didn't know that the first entrepreneurship you had was hosting parties and being able to save up money. That's, I think, speaks very highly of your discipline. So
Yeah,
super
it was
cool.
fun. It's quite lucrative.
That's great. And you mentioned, volatility in the market space. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're currently going through. Obviously, major shift with the rise of AI. On one hand, it's unlocking a lot of efficiencies, but on the other hand, we're seeing a lot of headlines around job cuts, automations, replacing certain roles, or just uncertainty around what the future of agencies and media organizations look like. So, from your perspective, how is AI really changing the media landscape and the way that agencies operate? And also, where does AI digital stand in the middle of all of that?
But yeah, there's a few parts. And first and foremost, disruption's good for companies like AI Digital. We've gotten, obviously, as we've grown, we aren't as agile as we used to be. But for a 500-person org, we're quite flexible and movable. So disruption creates opportunity. So that's first and foremost. With that, there's actually a quote by Sam Altman in regards to AGI. And he talks about, I think the exact quote, but I may be a bit wrong, is 95% of what agencies do, or maybe marketers do, is going to be commoditized by AI in the next 5 to 10 years. And there's two ways you can look at that. You can look at that and be scared and, be what I would say is a turtle, and hide your head in your shell. Or you can embrace it. And for AI Digital, we're very much embracing it. Obviously AI is in our name. We're an AI first company. And as we develop our tools, we want to be a business solution and layer for marketers so that they can focus on the 5%. So we built out a whole suite of, agentic tools that cover things from optimization, execution, to reporting strategy, to even things that help them run their business and either win new business or retain business, or it could be something as simple as an AI receptionist to save money. But for us, we're building out a whole suite within Elevate so that we could be that layer that underpins them in an AI first world, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And even outside supporting agencies from a media perspective, another exciting initiative I've heard is the AI Innovation Center that's currently being built out in Miami. Can you tell us a little bit about your vision behind all of this and how it fits into AI Digital's broader focus around innovation and AI?
Yeah, of course. Just one caveat. I would say I would look at it as marketers. We do quite a bit of business with brands as well. So I wouldn't just say agencies. But for us, you hear all of this buzz, and it's such a noisy ecosystem in general, let alone with AI. Everybody's coming out with their own agentic tool, and it's very cringy. So for us, like our approach is always to be authentic and real. And we thought the best way to do that was to let, marketers experience the power of AI in both marketing and real life firsthand. So we purchased a 7,000 square foot warehouse in the design district of Miami. We hired one of the largest architecture firms in the world or country. I don't know. I'm told they're big. Gensler. And we are actually building out an AI and innovation center so both our clients and prospects can experience AI firsthand and power of it and see it evolve from doing things like vibe coding to interacting with avatars to building out of home ads to you pretty much name it. I don't want to give all the secrets, but as far as I know, no one else or there aren't many companies giving people that actual showroom and experience, and definitely not among a lot of the advertisers the marketers we are working with. So it's pretty cool, and it should just make it a lot more move from concept to, much more being at the forefront, which for me as the CEO of AI Digital is imperative.
That's very exciting. I'm very familiar with Gansler as well. My wife is an interior designer and she's a big fan of the firm. So I'm certainly looking forward to visiting
Oh,
once it
that's great.
opens. To wrap up, one last question. AI is lowering the barrier to entry in a big way. Today, we're seeing a lot of young marketers and entrepreneurs. With the right tools, they can build products and launch businesses, and they can experiment faster than ever, really, right? And I know you're also a big fan of Vibe Coder yourself. But for the future generation of young marketers and entrepreneurs, what advice would you give them?
Oh man. That's a tough question. I think when you look at the rise of AI, it's really a force multiplier. So like me as an example, I can be a lawyer, a doctor, a CEO, a therapist, all in one when I use one of the LLMs. Not literally, of course, but it really creates a lot of tools. So first and foremost, just YJ, if you don't mind talking about AI Digital's approach, it is definitely not to replace, but it's to augment and make our team super soldiers. And then with that, in terms of developing and engineering, like it's allowing us to have essentially mini CTOs across the organization where people can vibe code a front end and then using Claude Code and other tools engineer on the back end. They need some engineering capability, but basically allowing people to be their own full stack solutions from front end to back end, which is pretty cool, and then bolted into Elevate. And in terms of opportunity, it levels the playing field. So what I would say is our VP of product, Mike, said this to me the other day. At the end of the day, AI pushes forward people that do, and AI Digital does. So I would just say do something, creates opportunity.
I love that. The human component of it is so important. Just as an example, we're currently conducting, app building exercises and contests internally across different departments within AI Digital, and the amount of creativity that comes, you can really tell the personality, the thought behind all of the apps that are being built is so incredible. So that human component absolutely is key.
AI plus I would say artificial intelligence plus human intelligence. I don't know. It seems like the companies that apply that are winning, like you still need humans. So that's very much our approach. We're blessed to have explosive growth and we're looking at it to be a force multiplier. We don't want to take the pressure off our competitors. We want to not only win a bit, we want to run up the score. So far, we're doing a good job.
Absolutely. Steven, I know you're a very busy guy, so thanks again for joining us and sharing your perspective. For everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back soon with another episode of Inside AI Digital.
Thanks, YJ.